Hey, what's up, everybody? Day one from Graspop Metal Meeting 2018. With us in the studio, Tobias, the man behind Ghost. Tobias, welcome.
Thank you very much.
We were wondering, there's a new album,
Yep.
but there's no new Papa. What happened?
There is. There is. Papa Merit is nil.
Uh-huh.
So we have one, but it's
yeah.
just that he's not the focal point.
I announced you as the man behind Ghost. Where do you get your inspiration for the whole shebang?
It's a myriad of different things. But over the years, having spoken at length about the various influences and things that have in one way or another inspired myself for this whole project, I think that the best way for me to understand it myself is that it's a lot of my childhood, actually. I grew up in a very music-loving home with a lot of records, a lot of TV, a lot of radio, a lot of video, VHS cinema, basically. And a lot of the things that I'm doing today are the things that got my motor humming when I was 5, in a way. Even though I'd like to say that a lot of the singular influences and things that I'm inspired by, or things that in one way or another alter my way of doing things, is a little bit more sophisticated, and obviously I listen to a lot more things now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, what did I listen to? It was just like Pink Floyd, Alice Cooper, Kiss, Rolling Stones, stuff like that I'm still holding with very high regard.
Yeah.
And the first records that I got when I was very little was Kiss. It was Twisted Sister and Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And it's not very far from that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to imitate not any of them what we sound like, but at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is that same oh yeah feeling that I got when I opened up. I remember, when I was a kid and I had Shout to the Devil, and you see Nikki Sixx, this completely androgynous monster at the time, that just looked so incredibly cool, and they sounded so dangerous, whereas actually, it was just bebop rock and roll.
Yeah. Do you also think or know that at this moment there are kids looking to Ghost with that same feeling?
I hope so. If kids out there have a similar feeling or experience that I had watching a lot of these bands, I would be Oh yeah, of course. That's nothing more purposeful.
Yeah. Do you agree? We're at a metal festival. Ghost plays a lot of metal festivals, but do you agree that Ghost is so much more than that? Than a metal band?
I don't know. That in one way insinuates. I think that across the board on a festival like this, where you can have headliners that comes from headliners, but bands playing that I think represents a lot of different styles. You have everything from more hardcore bands, I guess, but also black metal, death metal. I guess there is a norm. There is a metal norm that is represented by a majority of bands in the heavy metal rock section that I think that we might differ from a little in our ways of mixing things up, and there are certain things that in my writing that I guess is a little bit different from some other bands. But if I look at a band like Black Sabbath, for example, I feel I am very inspired by Black Sabbath. I've listened to Black Sabbath for almost as long as I can remember, and I want Ghost to be a lot like a band like Black Sabbath and what they were when they made, in my opinion, their best records in the mid 70s. Very experimental, very progressive, very brave. I think that even though Black Sabbath get a lot of, obviously everybody loves Black Sabbath, and they get so much credit, I think that sometimes it's annoying that they don't get credit for how fucking brave they were in 1973, 74, 75, when they made Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Sabotage, Volume 4, which those records were so... I am way more influenced by those than I am of their two first records, for example. And I want Ghost to be a band like that. Yeah. I don't want to sound like Black Sabbath, but I want my band to be as brave and progressive. And unfortunately, in this day and age, and I think that once metal became a little bit of an establishment, it also shown a side that is quite conservative and has a lot of dogmatic rules. And it is what it is. It comes with age, and heavy metal is embraced by a big span of ages. Yeah. So you will always have the elders who are protective and teaches the younger people of how things should be. And I mean, if we get started on mid-'80s death metal, I will be extremely anal. So I am myself also responsible for that sort of one-sidedness, I would say. But it is what it is, and I think we're a metal band. Yeah. At the end of the day.
One last question: do you have some kind of bucket list of people you want to work with?
Yes, but I've learned how to be very elastic with that over the years, because when I was sort of on the outside looking in, my bucket list was way bigger and way longer. But then as now a few years into the career, and I've done a few things on that bucket list, there's definitely, especially when it comes to recording and writing and all that, I've learned that pedigree is not necessarily, it doesn't equal a good result. Yeah. Making a record, writing a song, or finding the right manager, or finding the right agent, or the perfect band to support, is very much like having a relationship with someone, and sometimes it can result in a fantastic month of a summer romance, or a fantastic one-night stand, but sometimes it just rubs off wrong and it just doesn't feel good. Yeah. And one thing in the school of rock that I think you should always have in mind when you sit there and with your possibilities is that look always to as what someone has done other than the record that you like. Yeah. Because most producers and most people working, they have done so much more. So you have to regard that record with the circumstance at the time as well. It might not only been the producer, it might have been the band that was on the top of their game, or the other way around. Sometimes a lot of producers get a lot of credit for having worked with bands that are just fucking phenomenal. But if you look at the rest of the list, what have they done? Maybe it's just like complete mediocre shit. Yeah. So I've gotten a little bit reserved when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah. I'd love to meet people. That's always nice. Shake their hands and give the credit where credit is due. But that doesn't mean that we should sleep together. Yeah.
And on that note, I want to thank you for joining us here in the studio. And have a great festival here.
Thank you very much.